Well, all this time we thought you couldn't see us or hear us, so just so we thought we were had to start broadcasting for you guys to see us.
It's our first time, guys, so thank you so much. We'll wait a couple of minutes here while more people join, and we'll start the presentation at 12 p.m. Look at our cool new features. Let's see. Hey, Joe, I can see you.
Someone wants one of these.
Yeah. I don't know how much they cost. I should know how much they cost, but you can definitely get one. You could put it at your front door, and then Monica has to check in to come inside the house.
Make sure dogs aren't on a leash.
No dogs today, unfortunately. We thought about bringing them, but next time we'll bring them. Can everyone see the presentation that we have prompted where it says X1 approach wow factors? Okay, perfect. Hey, Heather.
I think this is going to be a nice chance for everybody to kind of network a little bit.
Yeah, the whole purpose of this is to, we love our customers a lot. I brag, but we have some of the best customers, and we always value those special moments when they get to meet each other if they haven't already. We love you too, Anika. Anika, you actually have a moment in this slide.
Yep.
You'll see it later on. Thank you guys for joining. This is our first time doing a workshop webinar. We weren't too sure what direction we wanted to go in. There's so many things we can talk about when it comes to X1, training, pages. But this call is really more just to talk about just our experience in the service industry, how we can share our experiences in the service industry, and also hear from you guys in the service industry. And if technology has helped you in any way, shape, or form, we want to hear about that, because at X1, we're always thinking outside the box. We actually have a box here. And we love to see what ways we can apply technology to help solve modern day problems when it comes to service and aviation in general, FBOs, aviation, even outside of FBOs, just general aviation in general. There's so many partnerships that we have with different companies that maybe aren't an FBO, but they affect the FBO client and the FBO customers. And we love that about what we do. And we started as a startup a couple years ago. We were a very small team. We're still a pretty small team. But over the years, just building relationships with all of our customers has gotten us to this place. And we absolutely love what we do, and we wish to keep doing it and continue to keep doing it. So all the feedback we get from you guys today and moving forward really helps us in what we are going to spend our efforts and times on. So thank you guys again for joining. And again, at the end, we'll ask some questions if this is something you would like to do again, or if maybe you would like to do it again, but maybe something different, maybe something more X1 related in terms of the screens, you let us know. And so I'll just wait a few more minutes here. I'm going to put myself on mute. You guys can ask questions here in the chat and we'll respond to them. I'll give just a few more minutes for other people to join, and then we'll start. For everyone on the call right now, we would love to know, there's a lot of names we recognize, there's a lot of names we don't recognize right away. If you don't mind stating your name, your title, and what company you're with on the chat, we would love to see who all we got to attend this meeting. I know we have a lot of current customers, a lot of outside customers, potential customers. So if you guys don't mind just putting your typing in your name quickly with your title and your company, that would help us a lot. Andrew at Texas Aero Waco. Perfect. Okay, Team CSR Manager, AirQuest Aviation. Becky at ATI. All right, keep it coming. Love it. Jennifer at Beach Aviation. We got a good group today.
Yeah.
Very good group today. Oh, Leanne. Archie Richards. Oh, Telluride. Telluride's in the house. Love it. Corbis, Mike. Jetscape. Man, I've been meaning to go there.
I want to go to Telluride.
We want to go to Telluride.
It's just because it's up high in the mountain. Nothing against other FBOs.
Yeah, for those of you on this call, if you haven't gone onto the Telluride website or their Instagram, do yourself a favor and go on it now. The pictures from there are absolutely beautiful. I mean, I could say the same for a lot of our other FBOs.
True.
I was in Central Coast in California, and it was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, like rolling hill pastures, cows, like it's amazing. I have so many videos from when I was there.
So different from the Florida.
Yeah.
Landscape.
Absolutely. Hey, Chrissy, Pentastar. That's another place we're ready to go to.
I was reading about Pentastar yesterday. Yeah, they've got a few awards, for their customer service and safety.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe Chrissy can talk later on in this call when we have some questions. All right, so I mean, it's 2:03. We'll go ahead and get started. If all of you guys can see our presentation on the screen, I'll do a brief introduction. This is our first time doing something like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a quick poll up on the screen. And this is just basically if you guys would be interested in seeing a workshop like this, but something that's more specific on X1 pages. So for instance, like, would you be interested in maybe once a month if we had something like this where we just focused on going over the request list, the features of the request list, probably stuff you already know, but maybe things you didn't know. We come out with a lot of updates and we're trying our best to keep an updated list of our newest updates, but sometimes you guys are busy and we get it. You don't always get to see those features or read those articles right away. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, let us know and we'll make sure to start including that. So I'll go ahead and I'll leave the poll here for just a few more seconds. Can you guys see my picture behind us? So I had this in my old office and the propellers actually spin. All right. Okay, so it looks like that was a yes. I didn't get a no from anyone. So thank you guys. We'll definitely keep that in mind and start focusing on doing workshops that are more X1 specific. Now I'm going to put another poll up on the screen here. And these were just ones we thought off the bat that our users would be interested in. Out of these pages that you see here, what would you be most interested in terms of attending a workshop on where we would go over the pages specifically, speak to you guys, and it would be us and then you on the call as well as other users on the call, so from other FBOs. So you would get to hear kind of like how they're using these modules, and if they're maybe they have a different way that they're using it. It's amazing the stuff that we hear whenever we speak to our clients. We actually learn stuff about the system too, and whenever we go and speak to our clients, because sometimes they find out tricks that we didn't even know about, like, oh, if you click this button here or open this list here, you can get to this quicker, more efficient. And so that really gets to open our eyes, but we want to share that kind of information with you guys.
And if there's something that you don't find here that would like us to address, then there's also a space room for you to do that, right? Either to chat or
absolutely, yeah. If there's something outside of these selections that you see here, the request list, the invoice list, I did price rules because our price rules, we know because of the fact that you can do so much, it can get a bit complicated. So we love doing price rules, but again, we understand it's not the easiest, and we want to make changes to make it easier. So we have that in our plans actually in the next upcoming release to simplify that process a little bit more. But until then, we can have workshops on the price rules. Fuel management is the big one. We're actually doing some research studies right now with some current users. So don't be surprised if you get an email from some people on our team under the UI UX division to just ask you questions about fuel management in general. There's so many things on fuel management and, revamping fuel management. We have our own ideas of what we think it'll look like, but we definitely want to hear from you guys. There's a lot of pages that can be consolidated in there right now, and other things we can think outside the box to make it easier that maybe you're doing outside on paper that we could bring in and automate for you guys.
We'd love to have your feedback while we're restructuring the whole fuel management module rather than after we get it. So as much as feedback as we get.
Right. We don't want to start building until we hear from you, basically. Okay, perfect. So it looks like we got some poll results here. I'll actually show these answers to everyone so you can see kind of where it's at. Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. I'll go back to the chats here. All right, so we'll go ahead and start. If you can see our screen here, the whole purpose of this, again, is to talk about the best practices, what we've experienced working at an FBO in the service industry in general, and how we've applied it when we worked at an FBO, how we try to apply it now as well, working in software in the next one. So I'll go ahead and get started. One of the things I do want to mention is that, this presentation is going to be recorded. We're going to be sending a link to everybody registered here. So if you want to click back on it, or if there's someone that didn't get to attend that you want to send this to, maybe they were working a shift and they didn't get a chance to step away and attend, you'll have a link for that as well. We have our VP of Marketing and Sales, Monica, on the chat. She's going to help us answer questions and moderate in the chat. So we are looking at the screen with your chats, but there's also, if you guys look on the left-hand side of your screen above chats, you're going to see an option, or below it, I think you'll see an option to raise your hand. So you can ask a question where we can actually display it and everyone else can see it. So if you wanted to ask a question that you want everyone else to see it, that's not just in the chat, go ahead and go to that question section, and then Monica can help select you. We could even unmute you too as well, as long as we have your permission, and then you can speak as well. Mm-hmm. And she just wrote it in there as well. Okay. All right, so brief introductions. My name is Caroline Corrales. I'm in charge of the onboarding and the support team here at X1. So a lot of you on this call already have met with us, or our famous onboarding team and support team. Our ladies all have experience ladies and gentlemen, we all have experience working at an FBO, either working the desk, working outside. With this kind of industry, what we're doing in software, we can hire people, but it's much easier for our customers when the person that they're speaking to over the phone knows what they're talking about when they say, hey, I have this lab in blue and I don't know what's going on with it. So we take pride in always having support personnel and onboarding personnel who can speak the language and the lingo to make it easier for you. We have Daiana, our marketing lead and a support team member. I've personally worked with Daiana for many years now, and it's been a pleasure to grow with each other in terms of where we've come from, where we're at now, where we're going to keep going. So Daiana is actually going to be taking the first part of this segment, where we're going to talk about expectations, values, and a lot of a lot of fun stuff as she has here written down. And then we also have a guest speaker, Alexandra Camargo. So you guys might know Alexandra Camargo from Fountain Blue Aviation. If you haven't heard of it, it's the premier FBO here in South Florida. If you've heard of the Fountain Blue Hotel in Miami Beach, the very iconic Fountain Blue Hotel in Miami Beach, then you have heard of the name Fountain Blue before. So just so you know, the same owners that own the hotel own the private airport, and it's in Miami. It's actually 10 minutes up the road from Miami International. We used to work there with Alex, and everything that they do is service oriented. I mean, to the T. And you think about working for a hotel, you think about service industry in general, and I mean, they live, breathe, and embody that culture, if just from the moment you walk in to the moment you step out. So we're very excited to have her on, and we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and click on the screen here. All right, and that's just an introduction to Daiana and a pretty headshot of her. Okay, and so I'll let you start, Daiana.
Yeah.
You have your notes here, so you can go ahead.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. I was a customer service representative for 4 years and some months at this beautiful facility, Fountain Blue Aviation. Carolyn used to be my manager there too. We started as customer service representative.
Yes.
Together at the night shift.
Mm-hmm.
And then you moved up to a customer service manager position, and then I moved up to a brand ambassador there at the facility. So I can share my personal experience. I have a pretty cool story at the end that I feel it's going to be inspiring for all of you guys. I'm not sure if we have actual customer service representatives joined here in the workshop, but I'm sure any supervisor and manager can just share the recording with them so they can be inspired a little bit by my personal story. I wanted to start with the well-known long-term profitable customer relationships. I think that when we start working at FBO, there is certain expectations, and we, as customer service representative, and I mean not only the staff behind the desk, but also the line service staff, which they're also ultimately part of the customer service representative because they have the face-to-face interaction with the customers. I think there's a certain expectations that we are presented when we take the position, but along the line, I've realized that it's got to do a lot with the self-empowerment that you as an individual can take those initiatives to go, above and beyond what you are expected to do as a CSR, staff member, according to what your job description says. When I think of long-term relationships, I think about loyalty. I'm sure everybody can relate to the term loyalty and how to build that loyalty out of your customers to keep choosing you over your other competitors. And the customer service staff and line service, I'm going to refer to the customer service staff, but I'm going to include the line service and the people behind the desk as well as a whole, is to focus on how to achieve that loyalty from your customers, right? So the how to is very important here, and the self-empowerment takes an important role in terms of what can you as an individual do to add value to that experience, that customer experience. So I say that yes, maybe there's a sales department, a sales director, and a management team that's taking care of, providing those pricing structures to those customers to pull them in, right? But there's also, and that would be the actual value of the whole experience, the actual one. But there's also a perceived value that the customer service staff should be aware of, and that's the perception of that customer has when it comes to your facility and sees how it's treated, how the whole experience goes through, regardless if they're given a price structure or not from the management team. So there are two things to keep in mind for that personnel, and it's to understand the FBO context. there might be people, and you were a manager, so you hire people that I'm sure you value their maybe hospitality back,
Absolutely.
past experience,
Right.
because you think that is going to add to what
The service experience
Exactly.
level that you are providing for your customers.
Mhm. So it is important to have that background, but it's also important to understand the FBO context, because FBOs have just this dynamics that you cannot face encounter in other hospitality or service oriented industries like hotels, etc.
You're talking about like contract fuels or being able to empower your CSRs to quickly
Exactly.
make a discount decision that won't hurt you, but something as easy as doing like a 5 or a 10 cent on transient. If you give them that wiggle room, that can be a returning customer, or that can feed into, well, maybe it didn't really help me, but at least she tried at the desk.
Exactly, which people appreciate.
Right.
Too. Yeah. So understand the FBO context, understand what sets you apart from other competitors in the field, understand your CSR role. You are not just a person behind the desk. You are also part of the brand. You also take part in building that brand, and you can do so from your individuality. You need to engage in upselling, and that's something that management needs to take into account. How do you get that person to reach that point to they can manage the upsell? And there are always going to be limitations, and that's understandable, but there should be limitations,
right?
But the upselling it's an engaging,
absolutely,
thing to do when you're behind that desk. Be management minded, not just not it's a whole mindset,
right?
that it's better to encourage in your staff than just not
right
being behind the desk taking phone calls,
take responsibility
and making reservations
for
in the
right
system, right? So that's the perceived value that customers are going to notice, and that's something that adds up. There are a lot of instances where people will go to an FBO not just because they have a good pricing discount or a good pricing structure set up, but because they are actually treated as the
right
they are the priority.
So I'll give you I'll speak for the people, my past experience. Jim, our CEO, and working at Landmark, which was obviously one of the biggest chain FBOs, aside from Signature. And part of what corporate did that was so empowering for all of the staff, even outside line service staff, was we had a clear set of daily goals. We actually had, some math wizard created a calculator that the CSRs had access to. And if the line service wanted to, if they had access to a computer real quick, they had access to, they can put in estimated fuel uplift versus facility fee. And it would show them what's the most discount you could give that person without necessarily affecting, your bottom line, or, you don't want to give too much of that. So having something like that, or even just maybe your FBO charges additional for lab, maybe they include it in their facility fee. But whatever those auxiliary services are, GPU, it starts to add up. We talk about this when we train in a X1 FBO about not missing services, because it's very easy to miss a GPU service. Those $30 tend to add up. And asking everybody, if you don't ask, you won't know if they want it. We used to have a guy in Miami. All he would do is drive around in a lav cart and go up to every plane. Do you need a lab? Do you need a lab? If I were to just ask that person from the front desk, do you need a lab? They'd probably say no, or maybe they got one already. But if the truck is already, if the lav cart's already at your airplane, and you're the pilot, and sure, give it another wash, right? So it's an extra $50. And it's all small and relevance, but if you have that mindset of always empowering your employees, always asking if they need something, pulling, and I'm sure you guys do this, but even if you don't know if they didn't ask fuel or not, but if you have that fuel truck ready right next to the airplane when they land and when they park, that's a higher chance that you're going to get fuel on that sale. Yeah. So that I think that's important to know. I saw it firsthand in a corporate structure, but I think that's something that every FBO, independent or not, can use in terms of upselling and empowering their employees.
Yeah, even though they're not decision makers,
Mhm.
right? They don't get to make the decision, the ultimate decision. They can actually help that customer get there, you
Right.
know, in a much better
Right.
place than and avoid all those risks that you take by not, you know, taking the proactive approach
Right.
to that. I would say be knowledgeable, deliver proactively, and build meaningful rapport with your customers. That's always going to be a formula that's going to work for you when you're in a service-oriented environment. Um, I personally, I had a very good experience, and it's interesting. This is the one that I was mentioning before that will be inspiring for your staff members if they're here to join us. When I used to be a brand ambassador for the Fan Blue FBO, um, I remember there was one flight that was coming in with a few passengers, part 91, and the CSI had made a reservation, or kind of drive a reservation for them upon arrival. But somehow when they arrived, the driver was standing by. They didn't want to meet them on plane side, so they were just standing. The driver was standing by in the lobby. Um, and so for some reason they just took off, and drove around the facility, just looking at the hangar space and stuff like that. I later on I found out that they owned a few Falcons, and they were actually in the executive FBO to look for Falcon 900 to buy.
Right.
So they were going to upgrade actually planes. She guessed that they had just taken off, and she canceled the car registration. She told the driver, just
Go.
leave,
Right.
go, because it's been 30 minutes and I don't see them anywhere. I think it's just they must have taken a different means of transportation.
So the driver that they had scheduled, they took too long to get airplanes inside the hangar, so the driver left.
Exactly. He was told to leave,
right,
because of the CSR behind the desk just guessed.
Not realizing.
Not going through,
right.
Yeah, realizing. So by the time they came into the actual lobby and I saw them, aren't these people that came up from the fucking yeah.
Right.
Where's this driver? Oh no, I told him to leave. So long story short, I told them, hey, what do you need? Is it a drop off, or they're like, no, we need an hourly service. We have a business lunch meeting, because we're here to do this, to check out the plane and buy it, to see if we can buy it, and we just need an hourly service for them to wait for us and then come back and leave. That we're going back to Texas. So I'm like, okay, no worries, I'll do it. And this is a complimentary service. We had a miscommunication. Your driver left, but we're gonna make it work. So I took our Suburban, the one that we have available.
Because you were empowered as an employee to make decisions to do things like that.
Yeah,
right.
I didn't even call my manager to tell, hey, is this okay if I do this? I just went ahead
and did it. Right.
Did it. And it took me more like a few hours. It was half of my shift, a little more. And by the time I went back, they were like, thank you so much, for doing this for us. I know you didn't have to do it, but good thing. So the next day,
this is a story I'm thinking of. This is a great story for you guys if you're paying attention, because it is very inspiring.
Yeah. So the next day, I got a call from their assistant saying, hey, by the way, my owners were very impressed by you and your service and how you carried away and how you fixed the whole thing. You didn't make it seamless. And their company, actually, they have a program that helps with the college tuition. And I was in college at that time doing my communications degree. And they were very impressed, and they want to give you your school tuition check for all your efforts. And I'm like, I couldn't believe it until I saw that
check come in the mail.
Come in the mail, not from me, because they didn't send directly to this. Right. To the university. But then, and they're like, and there's only one deal. You just have to make good grades and keep doing what you're doing, and we're gonna come back when we have our Falcon 900. So at the end of the day, you actually make it. I made it to where they had a seamless experience. I minimized the risk, and I ensure that the next time they will fly into the FBO, they will actually come in a bigger plane. So it was a win-win situation for everybody. So that's what I think. That's what I think it should be the morale of all this.
Right.
How far you can get by doing, by going above and beyond.
Yeah, and I'm sure other people on this call have similar stories, but
Right.
I don't know many people that can say, they deliver good service at their job and in turn got their college tuition paid for. I mean, that's incredible.
Yes.
That is the type of relationships that we like to build in X1 as well, with all of our customers, and that's what we should be striving for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it's well, if they have any questions?
Do you guys have any questions on that story? Were you able to hear us okay? All right. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. All right, guys. Does anyone else have a situation like that or a service opportunity like that where they had a great relation with either a transient or a regular customer that they'd like to share on this call here?
Okay, something seemed to have happened with their camera. Please bear with us. We're having some technical difficulties.
Okay, we're
And
here.
they're back.
Can you see us?
Yeah, we can see you guys now.
Okay, perfect. All right, here, because I don't think I was getting I wasn't getting the new chats coming in, so I wanted to refresh my screen, but I guess that kicked me off.
Yeah.
So I apologize about that. So Terry has a story she'd like to share. I could read it out loud, or if you don't mind, Terry, I can actually unmute your microphone if that's okay with you, if you want to share that story personally. You don't have a speaker, please read. Okay, no worries. So Terry says, it's okay. Terry says she came from behind the CSR desk as a manager and marshaled in an aircraft on a day where the line service staff was extremely shorthanded. So she was working behind the desk and she went outside to marshal in an aircraft. I have never even marshaled in an aircraft.
I had to do that once. I had to go to a customs ramp.
Yeah. So it included driving the jet trucks to Plainside for the staff to fuel as well. I mean,
woo, yeah, Terry.
It's funny, like
a Phenom 300.
That is a big plane. I would have been scared to marshal in that plane.
Sure.
And so, how often did you do things like this, Terry? Was that often? Did you have to do this kind of, whenever you guys were shorthanded, kind of put on your boots and go outside and do this a lot? Because I know in other FBO, not too often, but in 4 years, half a dozen times. And that story, I've heard of that story in several different ways or vice versa. The fuel truck driver is outside, he just finished fueling and maybe it's an overnight shift or it's later at night, they haven't called someone in, he has to go inside and answer a phone call or do an invoice. So I mean, when it comes to the departmental lines, I know we always had that culture in our last job and jobs I've came before, like there is a job description on paper, but I mean, you guys do everything in every other position, and that one employee that you have that's just like, that's not in my job description, or that's how you can tell if they're a real team player or not. So you see, I'm sure those customers returned back to you, Terry. So Becky, you said you have a story as well, right? Do you want us to unmute you, or you want to type it in the chat here? Oh, I disappeared. Okay.
Again?
Can you guys see me?
I can see you still. That might have been something on their end.
Oh, okay. So I'm waiting to see if Becky from ATI, Aviation Technologies, out of Scranton, Pennsylvania. I've been there. But so The Office wasn't really filmed there. The show The Office was not filmed there. Let me throw in. Okay, so Jim, our CEO, wants to throw in a story that he has. So
that should be an interesting one.
Yes. Let me see. So Jim, if you can raise your hand on your screen, and then I should be able to unmute your microphone. Oh, Chris Perry has one. Chris, I'm going to read Chris's while we wait for your microphone, Jim, to come on. So Chris says, one of my CSRs accidentally left the calls to the desk forward to herself. Oh, you know, like the call forwarding, how you forward it to your cell phone? Yeah. She received a call from a charter company saying that the aircraft was 20 minutes away from landing. It was 11 p.m. She left her house where she was and came back to the FBO to marshal them in herself. That's
brave.
That's awesome. That's insane.
Yeah.
I've done that before.
I'm sure she felt guilty because
of the call forwarding. That is a rock star. Those things happen with the call forwarding. They really do. When we were in Fontainebleau, we had the Hurricane Irma came in, and our whole facility was down. I think I had like 100 calls on my cell phone. It's insane. That's an awesome story, Chris. What's her name so we can give her a shout out, Chris?
Well, he said she was a rock star, so I'm assuming she's no longer with them.
Okay, still. All right, let me see. Okay, I see Jim here. Let me see if I can open up Jim's mic here. Alice Davis wants to speak. Let's see. All right, Jim, we are going to give you camera and mic access.
Just for a few seconds, okay? Because then you take the whole show.
All right, Jim, you should be able to access your camera and microphone now. Oh, Kristen went to Arizona, so she actually moved.
Okay.
Chrislyn. Well, shout out to Chrislyn.
Yeah, brave girl. Is he in?
Yeah. Jim, can you do your mic? Let's see. Says it's on. Okay. Well, I can't hear you. Let me try muting my mic. Maybe that'll allow your mic to talk.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can see and hear you.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Yep.
So we made an expensive mistake that, I mean, when I say expensive, I mean really expensive. And it was a customer that was potentially worth a lot of money. We had a charter operator, a sports team based in one of the FBOs I used to work at. They used the other FBO for like a decade. And we fought tooth and nail to win this customer and get him over to our FBO. We finally did it. The one operation came with two sports teams, a hockey team and a basketball team. And the very first trip we did with their airplanes, it was a 737. We loaded it up. Went great. A lot of us had some sports charter experience. Loaded the airplane. It took off, headed down to, I want to say, Tampa with the hockey team. It got to Tampa. We got a phone call asking where some of the equipment was. So apparently they said we didn't load some of the equipment. We go look and find out that the equipment guy's SUV was filled with a bunch of stuff for the airplane that he didn't tell us we had to put it in. I guess he assumed, and we didn't put it in. So now we have this customer, 10 years at a couple dozen flights a year. There's some revenue there that we wanted to protect, but there was also the customer aspect of it. We were lucky in the fact that we owned a charter department as well. And we actually took one of our King Airs that was in North Carolina, flew it up north, loaded up the equipment for the team, and had it down there for the game that night. The whole thing cost us about $13,000, but it was a mistake. They were very gracious in saying, that it wasn't all on us, that it was, they should have told us that the equipment was there. The equipment guy said he should have checked, and it was the response, but it was the response to the mistake. It was screwing up. And then what you did to fix the mistake that totally changed it is, they were never going anywhere after that, because we're like, we jumped on it the moment it happened and had the team's equipment down at the stadium before the game that night. It's those kinds of things. That's the wow part of the customer services. Listen, we're all going to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. As an FBO, we're in such a high-paced environment. There's always something going on. We're going to screw up. It's a huge part of what we do. It's owning that mistake when you make it, and then offering the customer solution and being on top of it. That's my little story. It was an expensive mistake, but over the next 5 or 6 years, $13,000 in the grand scheme of things wasn't a hell of a lot when you compare it to gaining ownership of a customer like that for years to come. That's my 2 cents.
Caroline, you're on mute.
Hello?
Sorry.
Were you talking to Jim too as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was giving me hey.
Technical difficulties,
Yeah.
guys. We'll do better next time, promise. So she was talking back. She was talking with you, Jim. You just didn't get to hear her. So yeah, sounds like a great story. I'm sure I've heard it before, but maybe we'll hear it again. If anyone else has another story like that, feel free to share it. Again, there are other people on this call. It's not just us, other people who are other customers or outside customers, maybe hopefully potential customers. So we'll keep monitoring the chat. We'll move on to the next slide here. Okay. And this is my segment here. This is actually taking a little bit longer, so I'll make it short and sweet in our segment. What I like to talk about, so if Anika, if you're still on this call, there's a picture of you up on the screen right now. I like to talk about the little things, hospitality, and basically where it has gotten me, I apologize, in my life. I started this story, I'll make it quick, but the very first job I had, the very first tax-paying job I had was at a Papa John's. I was a cashier part-time after high school, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I was working there. I knew I liked working, and one day, it wasn't that busy of a day, and we had people that would come into the store to pick up their pizza, as most people do at Papa John's. And we used to have technology back then. It was a little, when people would place the order, it was a little sticker that comes out with their name, the pizza that they ordered, and you put it on the box, right? So we had this one pizza on the rack. No one else was coming in. This lady walks in. So I just assumed that pizza was for her. So I said, "Hello, Miss Tracy. I see your pizza's here." For some reason, the fact that I knew her name when she walked in, it blew her mind. Wow. She didn't know how I knew it. It was the sticker. The sticker helped me, but I said her name. Now, I'm sure you guys have been to hotels. You guys save up money, go on vacations. What's worse than walking into a place that you have planned for, and they have no idea who you are? Right. oh, this vacation that I've been saving up for 6 months, my whole family's here, a romantic evening or whatever the case is. And they're like, what's your reservation? What's your confirmation? You're in line, you're treated like, and that's the same experience at FBOs. So long story short, that lady was so impressed with me knowing her name, which again, I just put two and two together. And she got me my first full-time job at a Hotel Sheraton, which is a 4-star, I think it's like the W brand. That's where I had my first experience in hospitality.
Nice.
So I worked there for 6 months. I really got to learn hospitality. I mean, in terms of dealing with customers, dealing with angry customers, dealing with nice customers. And then I stayed in the hotel industry for a little bit. And I finally left because I wanted to do something else with my life. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I felt like I was stuck. And then that's when I started applying to jobs as customer service. That story turns into me applying for customer service jobs. I got a call from a company at the time. It was Piedmont Hawthorne. I had no idea what they did. So I walked into the lobby and it was the airport. It was Miami International Airport, Landmark. Had no idea what it was. Apparently during that time, they were filtering their HR resumes for people that specifically had hospitality because they wanted a certain clientele at the front desk. So from that job from Papa John's to working at the hotel, that got me the job in the airports, and here we are now. So that's kind of like my story on the come up there, if you will. One of the things, give me 1 second. Anika, I have this picture of Anika in the background because when we were working at the front desk, there was a pilot that came in, and maybe Anika could say the story better than me, but there was a pilot that came in. He was between flights. He was stressed out. He only had one shirt left, and pilots need to look their best. So Anika took out the ironing board. She got on the side of the table and she quickly ironed this man's shirt, this pilot's shirt, so that he would look fresh and presentable for his customers. So, I mean, if that's not going above and beyond, not ideal to iron shirts at the front desk, but I'm sure if another pilot walked by and saw like, oh man, they did that for him. Exactly. Maybe she'll do that for me. It's that effort. It's the effort. It's the extra effort. 5-foot, 10-foot rule. This was ingrained with us in corporate and Landmark. When you're busy at the front desk, you got people in front of you. People walk in, whether they're pilots, drivers. The 10-foot rule is when they're within 10 feet of you, make eye contact to let them know you see them. That goes the same for like when you're ordering at a Chick-fil-A or you're going anywhere. You see a long line, you get disheartened, you want to leave, but at least if that person behind the desk made eye contact with you, you're going to be taken care of. When they're within 5 feet of you, acknowledge them, say, hi, I'll be right with you. That's general. And I mean, this is industry practices, hotels, service in general that can be applied throughout all of your FBOs. But that's something I actually had written in our manuals at Fontainebleau when it comes to like service and how to treat your customers. I mean, it should be common knowledge, but it's good to write it down. Teamwork, the small talk, that's one of the points I like to bring up. I used to do this with everyone I worked with at Fontainebleau and at Landmark, with Daiana, Anika, and Alex on this call. The whole point is to stay engaged. You have a pilot that just walks in from an airplane. I mean, he just flew a bunch of hours. He just wants to get his stuff and go. You might be busy doing something, or if you're using an old system that's not X1, it might take you a while to do that invoice. So instead of the pilot standing there awkwardly, teamwork, the small talk, while she or your coworker is working on the invoice or getting the services prepared, you need to be engaging. You guys need to be handing that off. You need to be like, hey, you're entertaining this guy while I'm doing this stuff. Yeah. You should have that chemistry or that understanding with your coworker that you're working on a shift where you're keeping that customer engaged. And that goes back to, for instance, we used to do mystery calls at Landmark, but I mean, people also do like mystery walk-ins. Like right now, if someone were to mystery shop your front lobby, if they walked in as a pilot,
what would they see? How
many awkward moments of silence would they encounter? Would they not? What do your CSRs or line service talk to them the whole way? Maybe you guys have a spiel, hey, go drink some coffee, we'll be right with you. Whatever the case is, but that engagement is key to making your customers feel comfortable. You know how many people they say that about other FBOs, like, it's a great FBO, it's beautiful, but nobody attended me. I mean, even if they were busy, as someone was talking to you, at least engaging in a conversation with you, or you were told to do something and you were entertained that whole time, that lessens the volume if you're experiencing heavy volume on days or events and things like that. One of the points I really like to point out is, hype up your hometown. I know it's easy for us to say because we're in Miami and there's a lot of cool, fun things to do here, but oh my God, hype up your hometown. You guys, if you don't already, I'm sure you guys do, but have that local guide. Your front desk needs to be the local guide. When pilots come in from a late flight and they have to go to a hotel, give them some dinner, have the dinner recommendations ready. Oh, this place opens late. You can still grab dinner on your way to the hotel. Or, hey, I know you're leaving early flight tomorrow at 5, 6 a.m. Oh, by the way, this place is open for breakfast, or you can get some, even if they don't ask you, just tell them. Like, hey, I know you're getting in early. I don't know if you've eaten or not, but there's some food on the way. Food is the way to people's hearts. So I think everything starts with food and ends with food. It's always going to keep your customers happy. So hype up your hometown, hype up those local places that only exist in your hometown. And I'm going to do a shout out here to Naples Jet Center. There is a barbecue place right across the street from the airport at Naples. It's called, let me know if I'm getting this wrong, Emil. It's called Mickle Bob's, I believe. And I hear that pilots travel just to go to and I've been there a few times.
Emil says yes.
Yes, Mickle Bob's. I got it right. Mickle Bob's. So, if you've spoken to any pilot that has been to Naples, just ask them if they've been to Mickle Bob's. They'll tell you yes. You should have something similar like that for your hometown. Doesn't matter where you are.
Right.
Okay, so those are my points there, and I'll click onto my other slide. So my other slide is about making it personal. Again, these are all common knowledge things, but again, we're just sharing best practices here. So you might already be doing. Maybe you have other ideas you can share with us here. Oh, Carl's got one. It's called Old Forge Pizza. Well, you didn't take me to that, Carl, when I was up there, so I'm gonna hold that against you. When I come back, you definitely have to take me. That sounds good. I can go for pizza right now. So yes, next time. I'm gonna hold you to it. So make it personal. If you are in a town or for whatever reason you have high turnover, you seem to be going through some new employees, that affects your regulars, that affects your transient who are used to a certain service. So whenever you have new hires, if you don't already have your customer preferences for your regulars as part of that new hire material, do it now, because that's how you're going to make sure that your service stays consistent, even though in the background you guys are actually going through new employees. That new employee starts, but she already know who Steve is in Office 101, and Steve likes 3 bags of ice when he departs. So even if she's never met him before, if she has access to that information, where can you get access to that information? X1, customer alerts, just saying, use technology as your friend, use technology to help you remember the small things. This goes back to giving the freedom that you were talking about to your staff. So, okay, birthdays.
Yes.
Birthdays are huge. Birthdays are important. If you don't, every place that I've worked at in terms of hospitality, we were always given an allowance to, if we knew it was one of our customers or a customer's birthday, or maybe even a transient customer and it was their first time coming, we knew there was a birthday or it was a birthday coming up, we were given the freedom to go and get a cake and have it ready by the time they got there. Those big life events, there's a story here that I'm going to steal. It's Jim's story that he always talks about in demos. They had a customer who was an older gentleman, and he was, just ear to ear smiling about that he was going to be a granddad. And, every day he would come in and fly in. They would talk about, hey, I'm going to be a granddad. I'm going to be a granddad. The next time he came in, after knowing that the baby was born, the FBO had a little onesie ready for him, and he was just over the moon. Do you think that guy is going to go anywhere after that?
Right. And how many FBOs has that guy been to where he has been overlooked? But these people here made the actual difference, and that's something that's going to take.
And they make the decisions in terms of, where they want to renew their lease or where they want to land next time they come into your FBO. It can be anything from the driver to the pilot to the mechanic. Those people heavily influence the decision makers and the owners in terms of where they're going to keep their airplane and where they're going to keep flying to. So those are my little. Jessica has one here. So we had a baby shower for Florida Fish and Wildlife Officer that was a base tenant of ours. Oh my God! Did you get him like a little wildlife hat as an officer? That's so sweet. I love that. If you have pictures of that, you should share it, Jess. That's a great story. All right, so we're gonna take a quick break here. Oh, actually, sorry, before we take a break, I just wanna go back to applying technology and this cool device that we have here. So for those of you who are our customers, I would assume that you are using the single point devices. If you don't, maybe it's something you wanna look into. We say this on our demos, we say this in person when we go out to train. Having this technology should be helping you shift your culture on every arrival and every departure. The radio chatter, you guys are used to doing it, and that's fine. It's hard to break old habits, but if you have in the palm of your hand what that arrival is going to be needing, the lav, the potable water. I'll say this story too. I'm also stealing it from Jen, but I'll say it too. Charter companies will let us know what they want for arrivals. They'll let us know they want a lavatory service and let us know what time they're coming in. They need fuel. A pilot will call on the air rank, let us know those same 3 things. And then when the plane finally gets there and opens the door, what do your employees ask them? What do you need? They've already told us 3 or 4 times. Okay, so using the single point devices, have that information ready. If you can repeat that stuff that he or she needs, that crew member needs when that door opens. Hey, sir, it looks like you asked for a lab, a potable water. We got your car waiting. You can see them relax. They feel like they're being taken care of. And that's what the point of technology is. Maybe you were already doing that with a pencil and paper. And that was part of ingrained in your culture, that you already had that information and you already went up to these airplanes and did that, which is great. You can just keep doing it. But with technology, at least you get a refreshed version of that, because maybe someone called and changed it. Maybe that car did get canceled. So you want to make sure you're using technology to your advantage.
And you're saving yourself time.
Exactly. Customer preference alerts. Now, if you guys, I'm sure you guys know, you have an expiration date on customer preferences alert. This is when I go back to the birthdays. You guys at the front desk, I'm sure you feel like you work for all these rental car companies, Enterprise, Hertz, Avis. You have access to people's driver's license. You can see their birthdays. Like, make it a part of your front desk's habit that when they have a driver's license in front of them, especially if it's a regular customer, put that birthday in a customer preference and maybe just put it to set and expire on the month of his birthday. So that way you're not always, clicking off of it when you're doing an invoice and things like that. So that should be part of customer preferences, gathering customer preferences. And what I want to end on is these X1 media devices. In general, we were looking for, this came about for several different reasons, and there's a lot of things we want to do with it, but basically, how do you know if you have good service if you don't ask, right? You have to have surveys. You have to be asking your customers what you're doing. You can't just wait once a year for them to fill it out in a different magazine that you have no access to. You want to ask them during their experience, how did you guys do? So what you see here on the screen, this is actually this device where you can set up a QR code, and we're helping some of our current customers do this. They've asked us, they have a specific survey. They want to be able to put it in their front desk or lobby. They want it on a small place so it doesn't take up a lot of real estate. That's what this device is. If this is something that you guys are interested in, we just started to do these, but we think a lot of people are going to like them. Let us know if that's something you'd be interested in.
Becky has a question.
Oh, Becky has a question. Okay. Will there ever be a capability for X1 to have digital signatures for invoicing without having to print them and sign the paper? So, Becky, you're trying to get rid of paper, is what I'm hearing. You want to get rid of paper. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Will there be the ability? I'm sorry. Absolutely. And I think we've talked about this several times where we talked about putting a QR code. This would actually possibly help with that, having that type of screen. We have another payment POS terminal that we have out in some FBOs that is supposed to help with that, but we're actually trying to revamp that to make it a lot more user-friendly.
The X1 Pilot Wallet too.
The X1 Pilot Wallet, which is actually, that's top secret information, but it is something we're working on in terms of having a digital currency that our aviation clients and customers can use at X1 FBO. So, Becky, I will get back to you on a time frame on that, but I think that's a great question, and we need to have it if we don't already, is the ability to do digital signatures without having to keep printing papers, because I feel you when it comes to printing papers. And we've all worked at a front desk. We hate printing papers and flight plans and all that paper stuff. We hate it. We want to get rid of it as much as you do. I got you, Becky. Don't worry. I'm gonna call Umberto and Jim right after this call, and I'm gonna ask them where is this included. All right. So, will X1 expand to offer a card swipe that will also accept card insert from the pilot side of the counter, so we can be touch free or tap pay? Yes, we can actually do that today. Jim, I'm gonna open your mic up real quick. Yeah, trying to eliminate the touch of credit cards. Absolutely. All right, Jim, I unmuted you.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a few things that go along the lines of what both Rebecca and Joan mentioned, as far as contactless payments and digital signatures. Mm-hmm. We're actually capable of doing both those things now. We have a device called the X1 Pay Terminal. I don't have one here at the office, unfortunately, but through that terminal, we can set it up so that they can. There's a touch component now to that terminal that you touch it to sign your signature. We do have an FBO that what they did is they have the terminal and they have the clean pen, dirty pen concept set up where they have those they're like touch pens where the pilot can take the clean pen out, sign on the thing, move it over, and then do it on the put it in the other pen. The other component we have to that, which is what we've been working on for the past few months, and we've been refining it before we put it out there in the public, is the X1 Pilot app. The X1 Pilot app is going to allow that to become totally touchless. So from the app, the pilots can store their credit card information in the app. The FBO, when they generate that code, it just shows up as a QR code. The pilot can scan that invoice. As soon as he does, the invoice is paid. He gets a copy of the receipt, and everybody can move on. If the card does require a signature, he can sign on his own phone and be on his way. Things like the Air card and some other cards that do require a signature, even if you have the level 3 data, which is, we can send stuff with enough information. Like at some stores, you don't have to sign. That's because of the amount of information the store is sending to the credit card provider. We have that capability as well, but some cards still require a signature. A lot of international cards do. So we will have those. That capability is, I'd say, 30 to 60 days before that X1 Pilot app is out there and ready to start using with some people. We have a lot of stuff going on with that, which we can talk about a little bit more maybe tomorrow.
And Joan, I don't know if I can unmute you if you wanted to ask a question on that, on what Jim just said. I'm going to grant you mic access.
Doesn't have one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he doesn't.
Okay. Well, we'll just keep reading your chats.
So in those cases, and we're looking at this now, we're looking at being able to print those QR codes as well on the invoices themselves. So the print, we really don't like that because what we're trying to do is get away from the paper to begin with. You need to display that QR code somewhere to allow the pilot to pay the invoice. That's why we prefer it's on devices, something like you see on the counters here and the handhelds. But there is an opportunity to print that same QR code on the invoice itself so the pilot can scan and pay. Again, at least that gives you the contactless part. We still have the paper part, which you want to get rid of, but one step at a time, I guess.
Yeah, and not to reference Apple, but think about Apple Wallet. It would be a version of the Apple Wallet for pilots with their aviation cards and their contract fuel cards. And they can sign and look at their receipts from there. It's pretty cool stuff. And like Monica said, we are scheduled to launch that in September, October. Expect to see it in the MBAA in our booth. In October, we will be in Vegas. I have some information on the booth later in the slide that you can see it. So yeah, contactless payment is a big topic. Coronavirus, pandemic.
Yeah.
We got, as soon as the pandemic hit, I think we started getting flooded with requests to have. Contactless payment, and we've been working on that ever since to make sure that the solution we provide is not just what you see right now, because even with the chip readers, you still have to touch it. You want to be able to just scan something and walk away from it, and that's what we're working on now. All right, guys, so we're gonna take a quick Cuban cafecito break, and when I mean quick, it's very quick. I'm going to put this next slide here, which is a picture of the coffee. You'll see us drink some coffee.
Like nice.
You'll see us drink some coffee. And with just some fun facts about X1 in general and, where where some of our information came from. So let me see. I'm having some delays here. Okay, here we go. You guys all see the cafecito there? So I'm gonna put ourselves on mute. We'll just take a quick 5 minutes. If anybody wants to take a quick break or use the restroom, I'm gonna put us on a quick mute and we'll come back to our guest speaker. Yeah, for those of, I'll mute myself. For those of you who don't know, Cuban coffee is it's very small. It's a shot of very pure caffeine. Very strong caffeine. If you've been to Miami, you've probably had it. If you ever come to Miami and someone offers you Cuban coffee and you take a shot and you think it's the most delicious thing in the world, don't take more than 2 or 3 shots, okay? Because you will have a panic attack by hour 3.
For sure. Marilyn is half Cuban. I am 100% Cuban.
And I'm half Colombian,
And
so we understand coffee very well.
We know what we're saying. Eh? We know what we're talking about.
Cheers. And just so you guys can see, it is real espresso in there. You see that? See the foam in there?
Even the coffee mug comes straight from Cuba.
Yep. So did you guys know X1 was named after an airplane? The Bell X1 airplane. And I'm going to change the next slide so you can see more information. All right, guys, we're back. I don't know if you guys had time to get some coffee or some espresso. If you got to take a look at the cool facts we have up on the screen, in terms of X1 being one of the first airplanes to break the speed of sound barrier, first manned airplanes. Coke Energy. Okay, he got a Coke Energy. I don't know. He must have had that ready because there's no vending machines here. Also, X1, the color, we used to have the color orange because of the airplane itself. We ended up changing it. All right. And just to give you a quick comparison, commercial jets fly between 500 to 600 miles per hour. The X1 Bell airplane flew at 1,000 miles per hour, just to give you a speed comparison there. All right. Alex, can you hear us?
Hi, yes. Can you guys hear me?
Hey, we can hear you.
I don't think you guys can see me just yet.
No, not yet.
Okay, so we'll work with this then.
All right. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest speaker here, Miss Alexandra Camargo. So she is the brand manager at Fountain Blue Aviation. Again, that's the hotel. that's the FBO Daiana and I worked at. I worked personally with Alex at the front desk and as a manager and doing marketing. And I mean, what an experience to see that company go from where it was to where it is now, and everything that they plan to do. It's amazing. So Alex has a lot of knowledge on brand management, which is very important in any FBO industry that you're in. So I'm going to let her take the reins now. Alex, you sure you don't want to share your screen with us and show us the pretty airplanes behind you?
It's not letting me. I've clicked on it, but it's not letting me access them.
Let me see real quick. Let me see if maybe there's something I need to do.
Brand screen share access?
No, that's to share her screen. Oh, I'm going to troubleshoot a little bit here. On the left-hand side of the screen, Alex, there's a settings button. And it should give you access to see what you have for your audio and what you have for your video. Maybe that'll help.
Okay. Nope, nothing.
Nothing? Okay, all right. Well,
how did you do it for Jim? Because it was.
I didn't. He had it. So Alex, let me see. Let me try removing access and then granting access one more time. Maybe that'll help. When in doubt, just start over.
Reset.
Well, if you want, I can take it from here until we get that figured out this way.
Okay.
You don't have a pause. So hi, I'm Alexandra with Fountain Blue Aviation. I'm the brand manager here on property. I know several of you in the chats. I've seen several people that I've worked with in the past. I've had the pleasure of working with Caroline and Daiana as well here at the FBO. So thank you for having me, guys. I'm excited to start talking about what brand management is, because I know it's not something that too many companies are familiar with. So the brand piece for us ties in the experience factor and the customer service portion of the experience, if you will. What we did once we established that we needed to do something to merge the sales piece and the experience level was we created this idea of we have to identify who we are and what we want our customers to know us for. Right. So we had to kind of create this culture, if you will, where we started from the fundamentals. We started from the beginning within the team and said, what do we want our employees to execute? How do we want them to speak? How do we want them to present themselves? And at that point, we kind of took it from there. So as Daiana mentioned before, we have different tiers. We have the customer service tier, and we have what's also known as a brand ambassador. And in the customer service piece at the front desk, they're known for invoicing, they're known for helping answer phone calls, helping answer emails, but we've kind of set apart that and build different layers within that role. So you'll see that we have a customer service representative who's at the front desk, and we have team members who are in the guest services station. So we've kind of had to separate and layer between different touch points. And that's how we started building our brand and starting to identify ourselves. So from this point on, we said we are luxury and we are experience oriented, and we are also safety. So we are luxury, service, and timeless, and we have the ability to provide a safe experience based on everything we've gathered between the leadership team, the people who were still here at the point in time that we were creating our brand. So it's a merge of all those things, and it's the experience factor plays a huge role in what the brand experience is and what we want to be known for. So from that point on, we like to have the core values instilled in our team members, and the core values were identified amongst our leadership group, and the leadership group came to the conclusion that our beliefs are within teamwork, intelligent urgency, drive, and adaptability. So as you've heard earlier today, I know most of you know that you need to have a team member that's invested in order for you to be able to execute and provide the experience you want your guests to have. And we strongly believe in the teamwork portion of it. So if you don't have a person who is service oriented, which begins all the way at the interview phase, if you don't have that, then you already have to understand that you're not going to get from that person what you want your customer to receive. So it starts from the very first touch point, which is the interview phase. Are you service oriented or are you not? Because that's what we do, right? We sell fuel, we have hangar, we have ramp parking, and we provide pretty much all the other services that many other locations do. But it starts within the employees. It starts within the original core values, which is, are you willing to provide this service? Are you willing to commit to our customers? Are you willing to have the drive that it takes to be able to service the type of clientele that we see on a day-to-day basis? So I think that it's very important to kind of derive that teamwork is within the fundamentals of any brand, really, because you can't do it without those people who are executing your desires, what you want the experiences to be. So as Daiana had brought upon earlier, she was able to create an experience because she had the commitment to that customer in that moment. She wanted them to ensure that not only am I the person helping you, but the brand behind me is also what your experience is, right? You're going to leave here remembering whoever your touch point was, right? You'll have either a CSR, a line service tech, a gatehouse attendant. You'll have that moment with that person, but ultimately when you leave, you have to have some type of connection with the brand. You have to be able to identify with the company that you selected to go visit. And then when you settle down and you say, was my visit meaningful? Did I have a great experience? Was it a memorable experience? And if it was it a pleasantly memorable one, or do we have to revisit and tweak certain things? So that for us is very important. We like to make sure that we have those touch points identified amongst the team and that we are instilling within the group. Ultimately, this is what we want, right? We want you guys to know that you have to effectively communicate. You have to be able to do it with intelligent urgency, meaning you have to be able to do it quickly, and you have to be able to anticipate these things. So once you have that understanding of what the company is expecting of you, I think that you are going to go a long way. And the company, the brand, is also going to build a solid and a loyal customer base.
Would you say, Alex, would you say, I think the biggest thing I gathered from what you're saying is basically the people become the brand, right?
Yes.
You got to live that brand.
Through much trial and error, right?
Right.
We were speaking of, turnover and how there's different phases, and the pandemic really affected that, right? We had a very, very solid team prior to the pandemic, kind of to the point where like, oh, great, if everything could just stay this way. Right. But, things happened, things changed, and we kind of dwindled down to just 3 of us. And we were the foundation of what the service was supposed to be, right? So we were able to kind of bring in those core values, bring in that mission statement, say, moving forward, these are the people that we're seeking. And being able to identify that has been critical in our current success.
That's great. That's great. And I'm sure there are other people on this call who had similar experiences losing, employees to the pandemic, in meaning like they can't work. And it's hard. The pandemic year for us has been interesting because I think people really got a chance to step back and look at what they were doing in terms of technology. We gained a lot of customers throughout the pandemic because they had that time, like what you said, Alex, they had that time to reevaluate and put a mark on what they want those standards to be, how they want to change their processes and make it more efficient. So that's a great point that you made there.
Right.
I'm gonna add my 2 cents there. I think what Fontainebleau and Alex are accomplishing there is really the future. It's a huge part of the future of our business. What we're seeing, and this is across the board, this is in every industry. It's not about the transaction. It's not about going in and buying the fuel, especially as FBOs have become more sophisticated over the years. We've all gotten better at what we do. There's a level of parity now between service that didn't necessarily exist, 5-10 years ago. It's really this concept that it's about your brand and the experience. Like when you go to that FBO and the experience is those things we talked about, like, that onesie you give to the guest because you had a granddaughter. It's little things like that. And that's going to drive that customer to be loyal. It's going to drive those gallons. It's going to drive the frequency of their trips. I really think what they're doing at Fontainebleau is how every FBO is going to need to run in the future. It's going to become more and more about what we're doing for that customer when they walk in the door, not how pretty your facility is or your fuel price. It's going to be more based on experience. We love Fontainebleau.
Oh, thank you. Absolutely. And I totally agree on that. A lot of what we've had a lot of time to think. We take the summer to bring things back and just tweak what we weren't so great at before, right? And that's what's been it's been a gift and a curse, right? Because in learning, you realize that, okay, certain things aren't working, and in those things not working, maybe, you don't have a certain team member anymore, or, certain things kind of break away, but then you're also able to learn from those experiences. And right now, the summertime for us has brought us to a point where now we're thinking about the experience as an activation altogether. So you come here, you take fuel, you take services, what else, right? We think about our crew members and we think about, well, what do they do when they're here? Some of these guys are here for hours, and we've built relationships with not only our sister properties, obviously, but the hotels nearby. So I can easily pick up the phone and speak with the sales manager or the front desk manager at one of the hotels and say, listen, can we get a late checkout? We have this guest coming in. And it's an all encompass. I find that the networking component is critical because everyone that can at some point participate in the experience, right? So for example, we have Miami Spa Month coming up this summer. It's starting in July. And I think of, okay, so hurry up and wait. What are we going to do? How can we help these guys relieve some of the time that they're here? What can we do? So we've been throwing back, is it time for us to bring an engagement piece where we can have a massage therapist come out and participate in Miami Spa Month? Is that something that we're ready for? So those are the things we're trying to gear towards, What are they doing while they're waiting for us in the facility? How can we participate and build that familiar relationship? You know, birthdays, that's great, but let's sit and have a cup of coffee and let's talk to each other. How's it going? The last time you were here, you know, something was going on with your pet. How's your pet doing? Those are real conversations, and you want to treat your guests like they're a real person, as opposed to, hi, how are you? And then the next time, hi, how are you? You know, you want to make sure that they feel that it's a real engagement, it's a real interaction. And building upon the experiences, what we're going to do here at the facility, come the events, come Art Basel, bringing in artists who can have, you know, create artwork in front of you, bringing in vehicles that most of these male pilots are going to love seeing when they're in the lobby. You know, bringing those types of things in are going to go a long way. And then that's something that we're proud to say is a part of our brand. The experience is our brand. We're just, you want to come to us. We're your gateway into Miami, and you just can't wait to see what's going to happen when you get here.
And there's you know, we have to realize that not every FBO is the size, you know, is the gateway to Miami and has all these opportunities. But that goes back to what Caroline and Diana were talking about earlier. It's, you know, your community, your neighborhood. There's culture around you that can all be brought to the FBO to create that experience. You don't have to have Art Basel. You can have a strawberry festival. It could be anything that really drives the experience for the customer.
Right. And that's what you want to do. You want to be able to identify with yourself who you are and how you can change the experience. It doesn't have to be to that magnitude that I'm speaking of, right? But for sure, you can make change by standing out in certain ways.
Absolutely. Highlight your hometown. That's awesome.
I wrote that down, Caroline.
One of the things I loved when I worked at Fountain Blue, Emil wants me to stop saying Fountain Blue. Because every time I'm there, I say Fountain Blue like 3 times.
That's what we can tell.
We're a personal experience. He's like, if I hear Fountain Blue one more time. One of the things I loved working in Fountain Blue and in Landmark as well was that, you know, we were always striving to get partnerships, not only for our customer experience, our external customer experience, but for our internal customer experiences. Vendors, you're not just going to come here and serve me coffee. We need to have a relationship. Like, are you going to help me sponsor a luncheon for my employees? And in turn, I'll give you this much of my business. You know, that's those partnerships are key. And I know Alex does this very well in the management team there. You know, they are always looking for ways to how they're going to give back to their employees and using their vendors and not just whatever caterer is around, but whatever caterer is going to help them build that relationship to give back to their employees and make it a mutual relationship and a mutual partnership. And I think that's as a management team, I think that's where your focuses should always be on as well. Whenever you're trying new things or switching brands of, I'll say, like coffee, or switching, I don't know, even local providers for anything, catering and things like that. I think that's awesome. I'm going to switch to the next slide here, Alex, because I don't think you have access to switch. So if you guys haven't seen, but this is a picture of the Fountain Blue lobby. I'll let you talk on that beautiful lobby, Alex.
Oh, thank you. The lobby, this year is our 4th year in that space there. So there's some tweaks that have changed. We're looking into changing up what we have accessible to our clients here. But as far as best practices are concerned, I'm going to reel it back into your team. And for everyone who's listening here, what we've learned over the span of time is to really bridge those gaps between the leadership team and the service representatives, right? So you'll find in some other locations, I worked at other FBOs, and there's line service, customer service, and then you have the facilities team, you have the detailing team. And something that we have really focused on is just bridging the gaps between everyone. And we're one, right? We move as one. The communication is as one. we have created here something that I'm actually really proud of is what we call the Elevate Seminar. And in that seminar, you bring every single person in the company, accounting, you bring in the gatehouse attendant, you bring in, I'm actually the one who hosts it since it's actually the first time we've done it this year, but we bring everyone together so that they understand what are we communicating and what do we want the experience to be as a whole, right? So whenever you see someone, we want you to smile, even though you think, right, you hire people and they're going to naturally do it. You'd be surprised that they do need that reminder. Please smile, make sure you're wearing your uniform appropriately. This is the presentation piece that we expect. You came into the interview looking a certain way. We want you to put that effort in every single day. So overall, for other locations out there, I think it's important for your company to provide that to your employees. What is it that you want them to represent? Because you cannot get upset when they're doing something outside of that, because they're just trying to be themselves and trying to do what they think is right. So you have to give the boundaries. And within our seminar, it's a company-wide seminar. We touch upon all of those things. We did it for the company, and now we're going to go back in and just tweak that training piece to touch points, to identifiable pieces, which where you can get the surveys that Caroline was talking about and say, well, they're not too happy with this, so how can we fix it? You try to fix it, and then you have another company meeting, which we call the seminar, and we teach you about it. Why are we doing that? Why is it important for you to do this? Our CSRs don't necessarily know what the airplanes look like outside. So what are we going to do? We're going to show them the top aircraft that come to our facility. So that if you're looking out the window, they're not dumbfounded because
Gulfstreams.
they don't know, right? So I think for us, that's been our best practice so far. We have TV screens in the behind the scenes in the operational areas where the team it's an employee lounge, and you get to see the updates. What is it that we want to be consistent with? So that message is communicated via email, via text message, via, the company, the TV downstairs, so that we're all on one accord. And I think that's the best thing we've done in quite some time, is to make sure that the team downstairs doesn't feel segregated from what our missions are, right?
Yeah. Visualizing it, having it there, the material there to see it and be reminded of it, and not just, only hear it in a meeting once a month.
Exactly. Or actually interpreting something incorrectly, right? Because you just didn't understand.
Right. Like, in case you didn't hear me correctly, this is what we meant when we were talking about this.
Right. So we've come a long way because of that. Other pieces that we've implemented are the touch points that we've defined. I know not everyone can do this, but we've identified where are the gaps. Is there a bottleneck anywhere? Where are people getting frustrated with us? Because things have changed for us significantly, where we are looking at record-breaking numbers, and how can we help someone without knowing that there's a need? So we've tweaked those touch points. We have a team member that sits in the back and is dedicated to, okay, so you're leaving tomorrow, right? Are you still online at 0600, or has that changed? Is your request the same? I have a fuel release here, but then you guys are also CAA. So how do you want to work that? Like, asking the right questions, so when it's time for you to go, you can go, right? So that's something else that we're really proud of here, is that we've been able to anticipate the needs of our guests just by sitting down and identifying those operational touch points, because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think that's, it's true. Not everybody has the resources or the budget to have a dispatcher position, a coordinator position, someone who's just in charge of looking at the operations. Mm-hmm. It is really important. I think if it's not being part of your budget, you should make it part of your budget. But at least that's where we think that technology can come into play, because, whatever we can do, and I'm sure, Alex, you can speak on this, anyone else, there's nothing worse than watered down service, because you walk into this awesome lobby with awesome people, but then there's just radio chatter going on in the back. So what can you do to help limit the radio chatter? Use your single point devices. You know, to you don't need to call out every single arrival. Oh, hey, I put something. Check the device. They'll refresh it. They check it. You know, that's a lot. And whether it's not completely getting rid of the chatter at the front desk, at least you went from 100% chatter, knowing everything that's going on everywhere, to at least, you know, bringing it down to 20%, so that minimize it. You know, use technology to help you guys excel in your service and not have that watered down radio service, because I'm sure we can speak for everybody on this call. They hate having radios at the same time that they're having to attend as someone at the front desk. And we all came from FBOs. Alex, I think we all came from FBOs where we had to use the radio to deal with all their operations and do all the stuff at the front desk as well.
Those days are long gone now, right?
For you, for sure. But there's definitely some FBOs that they still struggle with that, and they don't have, you know, they don't have the opportunity or the resources. So we want to be able to provide those pieces of technology to help where we can, whether it's a chat service that you're using and you know,
for internal communication.
Yeah, we're not, and at X1, when we look at technology, it's obviously we want to look at it, we can build it ourselves because we can control it in-house. We have a lot more power, but we're open to using any technology. You know, we always recommend other companies and technologies that we use in our company because it helps us. And you know, we're not getting paid or anything from that, but you know, there's pieces of technology that you can use at a front desk that'll help to elevate that service so that you're reducing the radio chatter, and it doesn't necessarily have to come from X1. But this is kind of where I wanted to go into, Alex, too, is where, you know, if there is something, just like how I think it was Joan who asked, if there is something that you guys think you can do or automate and you just don't know how, we are your technology partners. Hey, Jim, Caroline, do you guys have a chat feature? Do you guys have a text message feature? We have this need for this. You know, that's the kind of relationship we want you guys to know that we are ready to have with you. We've always been ready to have with you. We get these calls a lot from our current customers that are coming up on really big events, and they, you know, they're already using single point, but they need to automate just this one piece. Something that's happening on the other side of the facility that they can't see, and they want to know if we can help them in a certain way. So that's where we want to be in terms of our relationship with our current customers and our future customers. And we want to keep hearing from our customers in terms of what kind of technology they feel would help them to do just that. Elevate your services, eliminate radio chatter, help with volume, tracking, you know, anything like that you guys can think of. Maybe you don't have it in X1 right now, but maybe it's something that we can add to an upcoming release, or we're already talking about it and you have some more insight and we'd like to, you know, there's so many things that we're doing. If we can interview all of our customers right now about everything that we're doing, we would, but sometimes we don't know what's on your mind unless you tell us. So, you know, don't be afraid to contact us and let us know what issues you're having and if you think we have some technological solutions to help with that.
Well, one thing I do want to point out, I know you guys have all of these wonderful enhancements coming, right, Jim? So what I would like to say, though, for, you know, for other FBOs who may or may not already be signed up with X1, the ability that we have right now to focus on this part of the experience is that we used to, and this is just being transparent, we use so many different sites, right, if you will, to get to one thing, so that we had all of our information on one schedule. We would have to click through so many different tabs just to get information put together so that it can be translated back to the customer, right? We had a text messaging site. We had a site for the fuel uplifts. Prior to that, it was paper tickets, you know? So what X1 was able to do for us was free up that time. Right? I no longer have to worry about, okay, so you get $150 charge because you're with this company, or you know what, you get this. No, it's all linked into the software, which has made it very nice for us. Obviously, there was, you know, some trial and error early on, but it has alleviated that piece of it where it's built into the system. So it frees up quite a lot of your time, you know, a significant amount of time where you can reroute your focus onto different things. So that's one thing I will say. If not all the other enhancements, it's just the fundamentals. It's really just the scheduling and making sure everything is in one place, which is what I think you guys do a very good job of.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's the goal. That's been the goal from day one. if we can do it all and only have one website where the CSRs and line service have to go to, that's the end goal. Being able to do it all. I think we have our VP of Sales and Marketing, Monica. She has a quick, I think, question or statement she wants to make. So I'll give her the floor here. Monica, can you hear me?
I just wanted to say, after listening to all the stories of customer service, the extremities that FBO CSRs have gone through, Alex's tips on being detailed and detail oriented, that this is why the technology component is so important, because we are not machines. But even though we may have the volume, with software, you have the capabilities to document notes and alerts and details about clients, so that the next time they come in, you make sure that you could give that extra touch. Because with the rotating desk, with different managers, with the note, you're going to remember the story about the dog that didn't have the bowl, right? And you can alert the next CSR the next time that this person's going to fly into your FBO, and make sure that, you add a little touch the next time they come in. So, and going to the extremes where, poor Diane's like running to drive someone somewhere. With the technology, you're not going to need to be reactive anymore. So with the technology now, we keep saying this over and over again, through our platforms, is we need to be proactive in every business, but especially with this industry. You need to be proactive and take care of your clients, and not running to resolve that, even though it was amazing that Daiana did that. But with the technology, you don't have to worry about things like that falling through the cracks. So I just wanted to add that, because I think that's all really important, like your stories, the tips, and everything. But what makes it easier is creating that public platform where everybody who comes to the desk has the same access to the same information.
Yeah, the access to the data. That's
the
key.
Same data.
Access to the same data, refreshing the same data. That's key. So we're gonna take this time. Alex, are there any last points you want to make here before we open up the floor?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. But thank you guys once again for your time, and to everyone who's on here for listening and taking the time to participate.
Yeah, no, it's been great. All right, so we have a question for people. We are going to start unmuting you. Our question is, do you have any examples or best practices where switching to X1 or technology has improved your customer service? We know we talked about some of them that we just talked about here, but are there any specific examples as a user, if there are any users on the line, that you can give us that either helped you or maybe not helped you after switching to X1 FBO? And so I'll wait for the chats to fill out here, but if you have any examples, let us know and we'll unmute you so you can share those examples. Or if there's anything else you want to bring up, we're going to open the floor here. If you hated this workshop, you can let us know.
You guys need to do a better job next time.
If there's other things we can say to help. So, and we took up a good hour.
If someone likes Cuban coffee, we're more than glad to ship some there with instructions on how to make it the Cuban way.
Exactly. If you want any local tips in Miami, let us know.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. YouTube video. Okay, I think I have someone who wants to speak. Osvaldo, am I saying that right?
I think it's Osvaldo.
I'm saying it with a Spanish accent. Osvaldo Duran. Okay, I'm gonna give you access, Osvaldo. Do you want your camera on too, or just your microphone? Well, you can control your camera.
Yeah, you can turn it off if you need to.
Okay. All right, so I let Osvaldo take the floor. I'll give you a couple minutes here to see if you can navigate us. Let us know if you need any help. And then it looks like we have Rebecca Atkin. We have definitely been able to cut down radio traffic by using single point out on the ramp. I love it. Any examples you have of that, we love that. And I think it's good to hear, because that was the intention behind it. But going to our customers and hearing them say it just reaffirms that what we were trying to go for actually worked.
Yes.
And Rebecca, I'm having a hard time. What location are you in, Rebecca? What FBO are you in? No, we have a couple of Beckys or Rebeccas, if you will. Telluride, yes, it's right, Telluride. I don't know if you were here for the beginning, but we were giving Telluride a shout out because Daiana wants to go there.
It's always funny when I speak to any of the Telluride staff members and we're talking about time, they call it mountain time.
Mountain time. Well, that is a time zone.
Yeah, but it's funny because you're not used to that.
Hearing, no, absolutely. Let's see. Osvaldo, are you still interested in talking? You have some trouble there?
Best views. Joe, I would love to hear you.
I know. I would
love to hear you, Joe.
Everything okay? Well, we saw that you looked like you raised your hand, Osvaldo, so we thought you might want to talk or share some stories. But if not, that's okay. Joe, would you like to
share some of your wisdom?
Do you like to grace everyone with your Irish accent? Joe, we would love to have you open the mic up to you, so prepare yourself.
What time is it there, Joe?
Joe McDermott. Joe, I'm going to unmute you. Just be ready. No Wi-Fi on Blink here. Is that an Irish code for?
Thanks, Vanessa.
I don't know what that means, Joe, but I mean, I wish we had a call-in option here so that you can speak. All right. How about Anika? I don't know if Anika's still on. Anika, Emil has some stories. Rebecca, Telluride. I don't know if you have camera access, Rebecca, but it'd be really cool to see your lobby. Okay. Do you ladies have any advice for very small FBOs compared to Miami? We are at location with no tower. We hear everything at the CSR desk. We don't have a mic or camera. Okay. All right, Beck. Well, I tried. I was trying to see the inside view of Telluride. So Terry, that's a great question. Before, just so you guys know, before Fountain Blue was the Fountain Blue that you see now, it was a very small FBO. Yeah. It was private. We had all the radios at the front desk,
including the air ink.
Including the air ink, and they have the tower at their front desk. I mean, for me personally, I don't know how the structure is at your front desk. Maybe you could show us, Terry, but whatever you can do to physically separate that, if you just, I don't know how many CSRs you have at the front desk, but let's say that you have 2 CSRs, or maybe through one shift, you have 1 CSR per shift, and then there's a mid shift. Whenever you have that 2 at a time, 5 in total, 84 hours. Okay. If you have 2 CSRs, whatever you can do to, separate, okay, you are front desk, invoices, and phone calls. I'm going to try and be back here in this corner as far away from you as possible. Try to segregate make those tunnels as much as you can. So even if you can't go behind a door and have a different section or a control section just for that, but if you could physically separate the space. In Miami International, we had a front desk. Our dispatcher was pretty much there, but we were able to put him in a corner so that you wouldn't, like, if you just walked up to the front desk, you wouldn't immediately see him. If you look through the side, you can see there's a person there. You can kind of hear it if you got closer, but we put him as far away as possible, and maybe create that third station. So if you have 2 stations at the front desk, just create a third station where when you do have those 2 people, have that person funnel in that information. And that it could be hard because maybe if you just have the one person, you have the radio going off and you have to run back and forth. So I get that that's it, but whatever you can do to physically separate the space, that would be my advice. If there's anyone else here on this chat that has advice for that in terms of, what do you do if you're a very small FBO, no tower, everything's going through the front desk, you hear everything at the front desk, how can you separate that? Hopefully you use single point as well. And that's another thing I was going to say. Hopefully you're using single point. And if you're not, let us know so we can show you basically what single point is. No, sadly, texting. Terry, what location are you in? What FBO are you in? Butler County, PA, north of Pittsburgh. By the way, I'm a big Steelers fan. Yay. Big Steelers fan. I didn't get to catch a game when I went to visit Scranton, but hopefully next time. So Terry, yeah, privately owned. Okay, so I think we may be in talks with your FBO to become a potential client, or maybe that's something that this workshop will help. Maybe you'll get a demo or something out of it. We are a very modular software. If you are not a big FBO and you're a small FBO, maybe you don't need a whole software platform. You don't need to change your accounting or field management. You really just want a way to cut down the radio channel and have a more simplified scheduling. We offer that. We offer small packages, medium packages, large. We customize it to the FBO's needs. Every FBO is very different. So that is definitely something that our sales team is very happy and proud to work out. Part of the sales process is just learning if you've been to one airport, you've been to one airport. Every airport's very different. So there's an option to listen to live. Oh, Jessica has advice. Jessica, can I unmute you so you can give your 2 cents there? I'm gonna unmute you, Jess. Let's see. Okay, Jess, you should have access.
Looks muted though.
I think she has to try and unmute it. Jess, if you can hear us, try and unmute I gave you access on the camera and mic. See if you go to settings to try and unmute yourself. Oh, there we go. Perfect. All right, Jess. So Jessica Morris is our onboarding lead. Jessica Morris is actually one of our previous customers at Apex. I'm going to give her a quick introduction. If anyone's used the system at X1 and made provisions as far as what to do with X1 and how to help, it's Jessica. So we really appreciate her take on using X1, coming from being a user and now working at X1. I mean, it's like double wham. New option provided. I will check it out. Perfect. Jess, can you hear us? Can you talk? Let me see. No? Hope to share. Oh, Puerto Rico.
Puerto Vallarta.
Oh, no, Puerto Vallarta.
So, Jess, if you go into the settings button in the bottom left-hand corner, that's how I got mine on. If you click the settings button, it tells you to audio and video. If you select them to the correct ones you want, it'll come on. That's how I got mine on.
All right. You guys hear
me? There? No, Puerto Vallarta. Aerotron
FBO. Cool.
Osvaldo.
So I was saying it right.
Hear me? Osvaldo, have you been to any of our trade shows? Have you seen us before?
I feel like there's a Mexican FBO that's always at the MBAAs. I don't know if it's Aerotron. I'm gonna look that up.
Hello.
Hey, Jess.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Wonderful. Okay, so Yeah, I come from a couple different small FBOs. Actually, the first FBO I started at was in a little tiny town called Horseshoe Bay, Texas. And it was uncontrolled. We didn't have a tower. And even at Apex, the girls loved listening. Anytime you have competition on the field, sometimes you just want to hear and listen in when the tower asks the aircraft where they want to park. You can kind of get a heads up for any kind of pop-ups that may be happening. So we used to utilize liveatc.com because it gives you any kind of tower frequency that you want to listen to at your local location. If there's nothing going on in your lobby and your front desk wants to listen to it, they can have it open in a tab and they can switch to any radio that they want to. And then they can also either mute or just lower the volume if you do end up having customers in your lobby at that time, and then have the line guys outside monitoring it 24/7.
Love it. Just what was when you became an X1 customer? Because I think still to this day you're still a longer X1 user than you are X1 employee. So
I am. Yep.
Yeah. What were any, I guess, any practices that you put in place once you use it? I know there was a lot for you because you guys didn't have necessarily like a real schedule software, but
Right.
what would be, I guess, maybe the one you can think of the most when you switched over to X1 that helped you in terms of, elevating your services?
Preferences. I'm really big on being proactive. I really think that's what takes your customer service to the next level. So the fact that you can have warnings and alerts for customer preferences or even reminders. We would have certain reminders, like you brought up, birthdays are a big deal. We had a very frequent customer that had a G650 and his son's birthday was on Halloween. And of course, in the FBO, during holidays and stuff, you put little trinkets out and things like that. And we always got like pumpkin cookies. So we would always set some aside for that customer's. And we knew that he would be visiting his son for his birthday around that same time. So we would always set up like Halloween decorations or cookies and treats for him to take to his son for his birthday. Same thing with like dogs, animals, anything like that. Just knowing ahead of time when the customer walks through and even being able to call them by name. Just by having that information in the customer profile instead of trying to remember everybody, especially for new CSRs. One of the hardest things to train is who belongs to what aircraft.
Right.
Because you've got customers that have been there for way longer than your CSRs do, so they try to walk directly through the lobby without stopping, saying hi or anything. And you've kind of got to stop them and say, I know you've been coming here for 10 years and everybody else knows who you are. But once you have that customer profile and you've got all of their details in the background, then you can start associating who belongs to what plane and giving them that, actually addressing them by their name and knowing that there's a lot more of them than there is you. So you've got a lot more to learn than they do. So they really recognize when you start calling them out by name and knowing what their preferences are before they even have to ask you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a big one for us. I know somebody already mentioned single point, and that's huge on radio chatter for sure.
You guys were one of the first FBOs to start using our single point devices.
Yep, we were beta testing for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me bring that up. Actually, that's a good point. We have our customers, our network of customers that have our software, their packages, but a lot of the stuff that we're working on, we love to have our customers try it before it goes, into production. And when we talk about production, we talk about into a live environment. We have customers that come up to us and they'll raise their hand and say, hey, if you work on this, we want to beta test it for you whenever you guys, decide to start working on it. There's a lot of time that we'll build stuff already and it'll already be, we just have to get through testing. And so having our customers, real life users test it really helps us. So Apex was one of our biggest beta testers in terms of single point. The people that use single point today, a lot of those features that you see are partly, because of companies, specifically Apex, I'm sure, just had a lot to do with what changes we made. I'll give another shout out to Emil on our call here at Naples. He's helped us beta test a lot of things. X1 tracks. We've built a tracking software. Not just any tracking software like FlightAware, free ones, but a real robust tracking software that integrates with your X1 schedule where you can look at a tracker, see X1 services, vice versa, look at X1, see X1 tracking, so that going back to Alex's point, you're not always having to flip between screens. So there's other stuff that we're doing betas on right now. So if any of our current customers are on this call and there's something they're interested in betaing, new accounting features we have coming out, if you guys want to be, not to say our guinea pigs, but if you guys want to, you want to have that firsthand look at what we're doing and be that voice to give your opinions, to make the screen look bigger, make the clicks easier.
Get that feedback.
Yeah, because we have a lot of tickets for that, but having those beta users really, really helps us. So that's a great point that you brought up, Jess. All right. Anyone, we've taken up the whole 2 hours. Anyone else on this call or chat want to share your experience? Any networking you want to do between one another? Let us know now. We'll give a couple of minutes before we end it, but just to end up on our last slide here, so we can get through all the. Rebecca, what are the plans for fuel releases tab under customer service? Will they be automatically uploaded in the tail? Let me read that one again one more time.
So I can answer that one.
Oh, okay.
Those services, the using the fuel releases and having them automatically fed into X1 that way is heavily dependent on the card provider. And we are working with just about everybody to get them to the point where those fuel releases can. What we're trying to do is trying to make those fuel releases basically just a payment, where you click on it and it becomes the payment for the transaction, instead of this process of the fuel release and the numbers and all the complexity that goes with the paper fuel release. I mean, if you think about it, that concept of a paper fuel release or an email fuel release, whatever it may be, is archaic. In a world where you can tap a phone and pay a bill, the fact that you have to have a piece of paper to pay that bill, its day has passed. So we're working with all of the current contract providers to help automate those. And as each one has the capability, we will put that capability within the X1. And let me add, you guys touched on a little bit of the stuff that we're going to talk about tomorrow during when I get to babble for 2 hours.
Sorry.
No, it's perfect. We're going to talk about how this technology and this stuff. We talked about customer service today and how the technology impacts the customer service. There's a whole other aspect of how this impacts the FBO in general and the ramp and the guys outside. That's where we're bringing the biggest change. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we're doing inside existed in one way or the other. We're improving it in a lot of ways, but the single point devices, Jess and Apex were the guinea pigs for our Cloud Connect device. That is hardware that we invented that allows us to read and write to that meter on the fuel truck. That nobody's ever done that before. So tomorrow we're going to cover a lot of the stuff on the outside of the FBO and how having this technology outside is making it easier on the front desk itself, because now everybody has that information. And we talked about that, everybody on the same page. That's our topic for tomorrow, and the technology and it's not just us that's bringing that technology out there. You have companies like Atlantic. Atlantic has a great system in Jetstream. You have NATA with their QC app, and we're also gonna talk tomorrow on something else we touched on today with the customers themselves. We're actually gonna have Jeff Corsi on, who's with PJP, private jet pilot, and he's gonna talk about this from the pilot's perspective, what the pilots see in the FBO and their perception. I mean, for the first time in my entire career, which is over 26 years at this point, the pilots are actually getting younger. There's different expectations. People are just not approaching this the same. Add on top of that, our exit from the past, 2020, everybody's favorite year, and things are changing. It's going to be up to us to adapt to those changes. As an industry, we've always been kind of static, and this is our opportunity to meet these rising challenges that we're going to talk about tomorrow. Okay, you have 1 minute left, Caroline.
How long have you been in the industry, Jim?
Smart ass.
A couple months. We can circle back to what we're gonna take the polls for.
Oh, I have, one poll, guys. It's just about the seminar. A minute or two for Jim. Oh, I also want to mention, by the way, Papa John's. I started Papa John's just to kind of go full circle. I met him at the FBO like 7 years later. He came in, he flew into Miami, and he was like, telling everybody he's Papa at the front desk. And I told him, I was like, oh, my first job was at Papa John's. You know what he asked me? His first question was, how did they treat you? Like as an employee.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it was just political, but it seemed very genuine. And then he went on to give us all free pizzas and a little Camaro and stuff. So I always think that's a cool, circle around story.
True.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, we really enjoyed giving this workshop. It was our first one. Thank you for standing by on our technical difficulties. Thank you to everybody who asked questions in the chat. Thank you for our international viewer, Osvaldo. Yes. That was a very pleasant surprise. And we'll keep doing more of these and keep doing more X1 specific, non-X1 specific. Shout outs to all of our current customers, our guest speaker, Alex, Jim, Monica for setting everything up and getting everybody registered. It's been great. Carl, thank you. We're going to have that pizza together. And tell your LSTs, anybody that works outside, deals with safety, tomorrow's workshop is going to be heavy on that. So we appreciate it, guys. We'll sign off now. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining.
Oh, cultural diversity on Thursday. Thanks, Alex. All right. Heather, bye.